Hey everybody, so this is going to be a video on some of the Genie screwdriver operators, general just repairs on them, maintenance and whatnot, and this is specifically for models that have the clutch on them from, I'd say, early 90s to 95, I believe, is when they used this style clutch, but I'm not 100% sure. But either way, if you have a Genie screwdriver with a clutch, then this video would be for you. This particular opener is model GX9000. It's a half horsepower. You can see it is a screwdriver. They did make several different models of this, but as long as you have one that looks similar to this, they all work the same way. So we're going to start off with some basic stuff. First of all, you're going to find the model number on these operators is usually going to be on the rail, and the serial number, which is where you're going to find the date, is going to be a white sticker on the front of the opener. This particular one, 1994, is the date on it. So we're going to go ahead and get started off with some of the basics on this operator, and then we'll move on to a little bit more complicated repairs. So the first thing that we're going to cover is if the operator is running, it sounds normal, but the door isn't moving. So basically, when you push the button, all you get is this. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to come to your trolley, and you're going to want to look at this lever and this spring here. If the spring is contracted like that, you'll know that, and if you can move the door by hand, that means that the trolley is disconnected. So all you need to do is flip that lever up. So if you pull down, it'll disconnect it so you can run it manually. Flip it back up, reconnects it, so you can no longer move the door by hand. So now, when you push the button, it will run the door. Another common problem with these Genie screwdriver operators is when the door opens, but it won't close. So right now the door's up, and when I go to hit the button, it just runs that little bit, and if you try to use the remote, you get no response at all. What your problem is going to be is in your safety sensors. If you look close, you'll see that one's flashing. That means that it's out of line or something's blocking it. You can see that these sensors are out of line. All you have to do is line them up. And when that light is solid, then the door's going to close. It is also very common. You can see these sensors have little plugs on the ends for these wires to get pulled out of the sensor. When they're pulled out like that, you can see the light's flashing. So check, make sure that wire is all the way in. And now that the red light is on, now you can close the door. So one fairly common problem with these operators is the limit switches, which are just these little stoppers on the rail. When the trolley slides down and it hits that switch, that's when the opener should stop running. Now, these switches are prone to go bad, so if you have an opener that is over traveling, as when it closes, it keeps going past that switch, it should stop about right here when it hits the switch. But if it keeps going, that means your switch is bad. So sometimes you can look up in there, see if there's any corrosion and clean it off, but oftentimes the fix is to just get a new limit switch. It's very easy to replace these. There's just one screw that you take off, one wire that you have to unplug, and you just swap the two pieces out. And if you need to adjust these switches, all you have to do is loosen up the screw and slide it down the rail to get your limits adjusted. So another thing on these operators that it's good to know is how to program the remotes. Now, most newer operators you're going to have, such as openers like these, you're going to have a learn button. That yellow button would be your learn button that you push to program your remotes. But this operator does not have a learn button on it. This actually has dip switches, as you can see right here. Usually Genie openers will have 9 or 12 switches, and basically you want to have the dip switches in the operator matched up with the dip switches in the remote. So you can see there's a little arrow pointing on, and on these ones, when they're facing to the right, that means that the dip switches are on. So you want those switches to be matching for your remote to run the operator. So you can see here, now this remote, just a second, hook the opener on the door here. So right now this remote runs the door. However, if I take this bottom switch here and slide it over, okay, now you can see the remote no longer runs the door because the switches aren't matched up. And if I slide the switch back over to the left, it works again. When I have this light cover off here, I'm also real quick going to go over the wiring on this operator. So you're going to have right here, this plug right here in the front is where you're going to plug in the wire that runs to your safety sensors. Up here you have 4 screw terminals. It's for the wall-mounted controller. So you have terminal 1 here is your common. Terminal 2 is open-close. So shorting terminal 1 and 2 will run the door. If terminals 3 and 4 are for the deluxe wall consoles, you can see here, I just have a basic button. But some consoles have the option to control the lights on the opener and also lock the opener. So that's what where terminals 3 and 4 come in. Terminal 3 is for light control, and terminal 4 is for lock control. So if you have, and you can see Y3, G4, and then W1 and B2, the multifunction wall consoles will have WBYG on the screw terminals. You're just going to match up the wires on those to the wires up here. Alright, the next problem that you're going to get on these operators would be a stripped carriage. So basically, the carriage on here, matter of fact, I actually have one, let me go grab it. Okay, so never mind that, it's on one of my other rails and super greasy, so I don't really want to deal with it right now. But basically, this carriage has teeth on it that engage with the screw. And what'll happen over the years, if you don't lubricate the screw, the teeth on this carriage will wear out, and then you have to replace this part. So if the door isn't moving, you're getting a crazy loud grinding noise when you try to run it, you got to replace this carriage. And that's done by taking this bolt off of the wall, taking this rail off, and then the carriage will just slide right out the front and slide back on. So it's very easy to replace. When you replace the trolley, make sure that the lever that you detach the door from is pointing toward the operator. The other problem that may come from these, you can see this rail comes in pieces. Now on an actual door, this would have 3 pieces, and this is just a test door. I only have 2 pieces. But either way, you can see how we have that little connection in the screw there. Sometimes that little silver clip right there will get damaged in some way, and it will prevent the trolley from going past that point, so you're going to have to replace that clip. So, and if you're going to do that, you're going to have to take the operator down to be able to take this rail apart and get at that connection there. So now I'm going to move on to a little bit more complex repairs. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to take the cover off of the opener, and then we'll go on from there. Alright, I've got you set up on a tripod right now. I'm not 100% sure on how well you can see. So to take the case off of these operators is actually quite simple. There are 4 screws. There's a screw, there's 2 on the bottom, here and here, and then there's 2 on each side, and the cover will just slide straight back. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen these screws, and we will be right back. Okay, so we're back. The The 4 screws on the case have been loosened, and now you can see the cover just slides straight back, and oops. And this is what you're going to find inside of these operators. By the way, it's usually a good idea to unplug the opener before taking the cover off and doing work on it. So, if we take a look inside here, you can see that we have our motor. This is the clutch, which I'm going to get into some detail on this. This piece here is the capacitor. This is the receiver board, and this is the main logic board. And this here is called the Reluctor. It's basically an RPM sensor. So, I'm going to kind of start off with one of the more simple but very common failures on this machine is the start capacitor. These do tend to blow out on the operator if you use it too much. There's a little hole, I don't know if you can even see it on camera, that little hole right there in the capacitor is where it blows out, and this you might see smoke, but that's usually what would kill these machines, would be the start capacitor, but it's very easy to replace. There's a 1/4-inch screw right here that you loosen, you undo these wires, and the capacitor just slides right off. So very easy to repair. The one thing that you're going to want to note when replacing the capacitor is you got 4 wires and 4 terminals. You notice that 2 of the terminals are kind of connected. You'll want to put the same wires on basically those, I guess they're kind of bridged. You want to put the same wires on the same bridge. It doesn't matter if one goes on the top, one goes on the bottom, as long as the same color wires are on the same terminal. Next we have the logic board, which is right here. The logic board is, honestly every opener kind of has board problems. There you can see there's one connector up here and one connector down here. You have to undo those connectors, and then there is a screw which is somewhere on here. It's right here. There's a screw that you have to loosen, and then this board will slide out. And then it's just that in reverse to have to replace it. The same deal for this board. The motor itself, the big problem on these is this back piece here, which is called the end bell. If you have these on a particularly heavy door, these end bells would tend to crack, and they would be really small cracks, and you wouldn't really notice it until you ran the door. And basically, as you know, this here, the Reluctor, you can see there's this little, it looks like a gear, it has these little teeth on it, and it basically meets up with these 2 points. It sends those signal, bounces it off of here, and if it's not detecting that, it's going to think there's something in the way, and it's going to make the operator reverse the door or stop the door. And then this part right here is the clutch itself. So I'm going to get into a little bit of detail on this clutch. This is basically the force setting. The screw runs all the way through the motor on this operator and sticks out the back. And behind this gear, there's a plate that's actually part of the motor itself that engages with this. When you tighten this spring, it gets pushed up farther. And if there's too much force, if there's enough force for those to slip, this Reluctor here will detect it and keep the door from moving. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of take this clutch apart here, and I'll show you the workings of it. It's a 3/4 inch wrench on the nut, which I forgot to grab my 3/4 wrench, so I'm using an adjustable one. And then there's also a little flathead slot here. That's just to keep the screw from turning when you adjust the clutch. And it's just like a screw. You turn it to the right to tighten it and to the left to loosen it. So I'm going to go ahead and loosen it all the way and take this clutch apart here. And then once I get it put back together, I'm going to show you how to tighten the clutch, adjust it. And again, this screwdriver is just to keep the screw from turning. It's always a good idea when you're adjusting the clutch again to unplug the operator, just to prevent any risk of somebody accidentally running the door. If you take the clutch apart, usually a good idea to lay out the parts in the order that you took them off. So the first part that you have, will come off, is the plastic nut. See if I can see it. It's the plastic nut. And again, I'm sorry if this isn't a perfect view. I'm doing the best I can with what I have set up here. So again, lay them out in the order you took them off. So there's a plastic nut. Then you have a little washer right here. And then the clutch spring. And you have another washer after that. And then it's pretty difficult to see. Actually, I doubt you'll be able to see it on video, but there is a tiny little ring that, there's a tiny little ring here, or a keeper, that's holding the Reluctor Hub in place. So you just got to take that out. This one will take a little bit of effort, but you can see there's just a little ring there. And then this piece will slide off, which this is called the Reluctor Hub. You can see how it's got some grease on it. If I focus on it. So you can see how it has grease on it, and it's also quite shiny. So this is where problems would come. If the clutch is smooth, it will slip pretty easily. So, and I'll show you in a sec how to kind of make it, to kind of roughen it up. But this would be a problem, is if it's shiny, smooth, it's gonna slip really easily. Then you have this piece right here, which is, this is called the clutch pad. It's plastic, and you can see that's also fairly shiny. And then this piece right here, you can see I'm turning this piece, this silver, hold on, let me refocus it for you. This silver piece, when I'm turning it, it's not turning the screw. And again, that's because this silver piece is part of the motor itself, but it engages with the Reluctor Hub. So this is pushed up against that with the spring, which is what engages it. Oh, by the way, you have a little keyway in this shaft here, which you don't, there's an E-clip here that you can take off, but you don't need to take that off really at all. So you can see this piece is also somewhat shiny. This one, you don't really have to worry about it that much. Of course, if you want, I believe you could just take some sandpaper and make that a little bit rough. But, so we're gonna, what we need to worry about is the clutch, or the Reluctor Hub. So I'm gonna start by just wiping this grease off of it and see if you can catch the shine that's on it, because this is fairly shiny. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, might not be focused, but it's a little bit scratched up, but not very much. So the way that you would do this, take it over the wall. So you want to find just a rough surface, and you're just going to scrape it. That's all you have to do. You just want to find a rough surface and scrape this against it. And let's get my wall dirty, but I don't really care. So you can already see there's scratches on it. You just want to scrape it up, and this is basically going to, and you want to turn it some, this is basically going to make it rough so that it engages better with the clutch. And then you can do that with the plastic piece here. You don't have to be as rough on this one, but you just want to get them scratched up like so. So now we're going to put this clutch back together here. Let me set you back up. And again, I do apologize if you can't see that well. Hold on. Okay. So now we're going to put this clutch back together. Again, as long as you put it back together in the order that you took it apart, you shouldn't have any problems. So the plastic clutch pad goes first. Then next is your reluctor hub. Remember, there's a keyway here, so you're going to have to turn it some. And that's what's going to go on next. You have the tiny little ring keeper, which goes on next. Again, this one will take a little bit of patience. Okay, next you have a washer. There's the droppings. You have a washer next. Then you have a spring, another washer, and last but not least comes the plastic nut, which put the greasy end facing the washer. And you're just going to start putting that there and just tighten it by hand until it starts spinning the screw. Alright. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to show you how you would go about adjusting the clutch. One sec here. Alright, so one thing before I continue, by the way, on this reluctor here, you know how there's got to be a little gap there between the teeth, basically the teeth on the reluctor hub. You want maybe a credit card thickness between that. You can loosen these screws and adjust it a little bit. Anyway, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and plug this opener back in, and then I'm going to show you how this clutch is adjusted here. So basically, if it's not able to close the door all the way, it's going to slip and it's going to reverse the door and make it come back up. So I'm going to plug it in and I'm going to hit the remote and I'm going to close the door and we're going to see what it does. So in that case it actually closed all the way, which before, this clutch actually used to be much, much tighter than it is. And the reason for that is because of the reluctor hub being shiny. But I'm going to open this back up. I'm going to loosen up the clutch some. And I'm going to show you what were to happen if it does slip. Alright. Again, when you're adjusting the clutch, it's a good idea to unplug it. Alright. So, you're just going to loosen this nut here. Again, in this scenario, I just had to hand tighten the clutch, and that was enough to get it. But this is probably loose enough. So now I'm going to go ahead and plug it back in, and we're going to try, I'm hoping that this will be loose enough. We're going to plug it back in, and we're going to try closing it again. There you go, so you saw what happens. The clutch is slipping, and it's not allowing the door to close. So you want to get that clutch tight enough so that it will close all the way, but you don't want it too tight. So I'm going to try again. I'm just going to hand tighten it, so that's probably about as far as I need to go. So now that I tightened it back up, we can plug it in, and then and there you go. And then I'm going to, just real quick, putting the case back on, very, very easy. You're just going to slide it over. Again, the side that's the top, obviously I know it's facing the right way. If you'll be able to read the logo on the cover, you're just going to slide it over the screw holes, and you're going to take 1/4 inch nut driver or screwdriver, whatever, just tighten those down. And that's basically an overview of the Clutch Genie screwdriver. So let me know if this helped anyone. If you guys want me to do more of these maintenance videos like these, let me know, because I actually really enjoyed making this video. This is actually kind of a remake of a video that I made a few years ago as well, of this exact opener, but I figured I might want to make an updated video. So again, let me know what you guys think. If you want me to do more of these, let me know in the comments, and if anyone has questions or if this helped anyone, also let me know. Good to know if I'm helping people or if I'm not. So thank you guys for watching this video, and we will see you guys in the next one.